Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Damore McQueen, and today I wanted to talk about an interesting topic. It's not a topic that we always touch on. I don't know if it's specific to the black community, but what I know is that this is not a conversation that we always have. So, yes, I want to talk about money today. I mean, growing up, you'd hear things like money is the root of all evil, which is a misquote of a scripture. That is not what the scripture says. The scripture actually says that the love of money is the root of all evil. In other words, if you love money more than God or put money before God, then that's bad and that could lead to destruction. But money by itself is not evil. And so that's one of the first things I want to kind of touch on to clear the air on. In fact, many of the greatest leaders in the Bible were wealthy. You would hear about the many cattles, the thousands of cattles, and so on. That was wealth of their time. So these people were actually wealthy. Most of these people were actually really wealthy. So let's clear the air on that firstly. So money is not the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. So don't put money before God. So let me just clear up that myth that we have in the, I'm going to say, the black community, but it could extend beyond. Um, the second thing I wanted to speak on is the fact that we don't talk about money. I don't know if it's because we don't necessarily have it, so we find it awkward to talk about it. But I think that parents should talk about money because I think it sets a foundation from very early. So whether you have the money or not, it sets a foundation and it creates a safe space to have the conversation. And even if you didn't have the opportunity to have had that conversation with your parents growing up, you can have that conversation with your peers. I mean, that's a conversation that I have with my friends many times, whether we're talking about investments, the future, saving, traveling, and so on. So we're having the conversation, and that certainly kind of just sparks the interest, and propels us to dream big and to set goals as we look towards the future. So certainly, yeah, we don't talk about money, but we actually should talk about money. And that is something that I do a lot lately since, being interested in finance and investing and so on. So that's what I wanted to say as well. We don't talk about it, but we actually should. The next thing is what I'm learning about money personally. So my journey has been, I'm gonna say, really rewarding. So I really gained a really interest in finance since coming to Canada, if I'm being honest. Like growing up in Jamaica, you just hear save your money, you just hear saving, saving, saving. But since coming here, now I know the difference, between saving my money and investing my money, for example. So there's a clear difference there, right? It's one thing to save your money. Saving is just putting your money aside. Perhaps it earns a little interest in a savings account in your bank account, for example. But investing is on a whole other level. Investing now is putting your money in financial instruments. For example, stocks, bonds, real estate, and so on. So there's a clear difference there. And with investment, there is usually a greater return or the possibility of a greater return. So it's actually better to invest your money than to save the bulk of it. And I said the bulk of it for a reason, because saving is also important. Because with savings, your money is more readily accessible, right? So you might have an emergency, for example, so you'd need to access those resources. So saving is certainly important as well. But there's a clear difference between saving and investing. So I'm definitely learning a lot. I'm learning about, some investments are more risky than others, so it's important that you be knowledgeable. And so one of the things that experts say, for example, is don't invest in something you don't understand. So for me, I like the idea of an index fund, which is basically a pool of many stocks. Okay, I'm not a financial expert, but just to touch on it a little bit. So like the S&P 500, for example, you'd invest in a basket of many instruments instead of just investing in one. I won't go any further though, because I don't want it to get too complicated. But perhaps if you're interested, we could go a bit deeper where this is concerned. But these are things that I'm learning, and they're definitely, quite interesting. So I'm definitely learning about finance, and I would encourage you to learn about finance and start doing your research, go on YouTube, etc. Because that's a way in which you can actually build wealth. So financial literacy is definitely important. So let us talk a little bit about how I'm going to be a millionaire. Yeah, that's one of my goals now. It wasn't a goal before. I believe that I was a little bit afraid of even the idea of being a millionaire because of the negative surrounding that, and how, these people do bad things to earn their money, some of them, and etc. etc. There's certain negatives surrounding that, but that's not always the case. There are ways of going about it. For some people, that's real estate, which is a form of investment where they buy properties, they rent out properties, for example, and that helps them to build wealth. For some people, that's index funds that I mentioned before. For some people, that's stocks, bonds, and the list continues. There are so many investment instruments, but again, that is certainly a way in which one could build wealth, could become a millionaire. So I'd say that investment is one of those ways in which I'm going to build wealth to become a millionaire. It's not far fetched, it's not impossible. What I'd suggest though is that you start as soon as possible, even if it's just putting aside a small, tiny amount, but that compounds over time. And that's another investment word, compound interest, but you can do your research there. But it just really means that the money adds up over time. So no matter how small it is, you know, it adds up. So I'd say start. You could start with your local bank. Many of them offer these investment opportunities, for example. But the point is start gaining knowledge surrounding it, start having the conversation, getting spaces where those conversations are being had. So this is just one example, for example, one strategy, for example, in just you know just to say how I'm going to um, achieve this wealth that I'm pursuing, or not necessarily pursuing per se, but this is how it's possible. So it's not impossible despite what you might have been told. There are legitimate ways about going about it. It might take some time, but the fact of the matter is that it's possible. So yeah, that's it basically. I just wanted to talk about money a little bit because it's not a conversation that we often have. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for listening. And I do hope that you have an amazing day. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And you can leave in the chat. Let me know what you'd want me to talk about. Let me know your comments even surrounding this video. Thank you for listening.